few days ago, I went to my favorite Chinese takeout place on Christopher Street in the West Village. I got a bunch of things, and when I came home, I discovered that accompanying some of my dishes were 2 cartons of white rice, which I did not eat because I ate the other things. I ate the noodles, and I thought I would show you today what I do with this wonderful rice, especially when it has been sitting in the fridge for at least a day, which is mandatory. It should be in the fridge. It should harden up a little bit. I turn it into fried rice, and I turn it into Chinese fried rice. I, over the years, have been doing this, and I've learned a few tips from my Chinese friend. So I'm going to share them with you today. The first thing that you need to do is take the fried rice out of the container and put it into some kind of vessel where you can break it up to ensure that it's not going to have big clumps in the pan. And you can see that this is really hardened up, which is exactly what you want. When you make fried rice, you cannot make it with fresh rice because the rice is too wet and it'll just turn into a soggy mush. Fried rice is made with this kind of stale rice. And so I start by doing that, and then I actually just take my fingers and crumble the clumps so that the grains are separate. And this takes a little bit of time, but it's essential to the process if you want really nice fried rice. Okay, there we go. So that rice has been crumbled up, prepared. Now, I'm going to start heating my pan while I prep the other ingredients, because your pan, this is an important part of making fried rice. You want to use a pan that can get as hot as possible. In the Chinese restaurants, in Chinese homes, they use woks, and these steel woks can get really hot, and they get them super hot for making fried rice. So you want to try to get as close as that. You should use, if you have it, a cast iron pan. I have a steel pan that's very large, so I'm going to use this today. This is my equivalent to a wok. So I'm going to just put this on a medium flame so that it'll get really hot while I'm doing my prep. We're going to start with any pork product. So in traditional Chinese fried rice, there's often something called char siu, which is the sweet and sour pork. If you pick apart fried rice, like from a great Chinese place, you'll see a reddish kind of meat. That's the sweet and sour pork. You can use any kind of pork product. So what I like to use is like a hard salami, like a spicy sopressata. Sopressata, is that how to say that? Or you can even use bacon, but anything that has real good flavor and that has fat in it that's going to render in the pan. So what you do is you want to chop this up like this. Let me just prep all of this. Put this in a bowl. Now, the wonderful thing about fried rice is it's very forgiving. You can really put anything you want into it. I'm showing you my method that creates a very simple, flavorful fried rice, but you can play around with like what you have in the fridge. If you made a pot roast and you have some leftover pot roast in the fridge, use that. If you have frozen shrimp in your freezer, put that in, because that's great in fried rice. I don't have any of that now, but when I do have shrimp in the freezer, I always put that into the fried rice. Okay, that's pretty good. So all that's chopped up. Onions. I put in green onions and like an actual yellow onion. So for the green onions, I'm going to use both parts, but first I'm going to chop up the white and the light green parts for the initial fry. They're rolling all over the place. Stay put. Just this a little bit more of a... So green onions or scallion. And then I'm going to also add a little bit of a yellow onion. Some fresh ginger. Chop this up very finely because you want this to be nicely distributed through the rice. And I'm going to toss all of this in at the same time, so I'm going to just put it into the same dish with the onions. And the last thing we need are just a couple cloves of garlic, peeled and minced, nearing that bottom third of my garlic braid. Oh, it's a very large clove, so I'm just going to use one. So the onions, the garlic, the ginger, these are our aromatics. These are what are going to add flavor to the rice. Okay, and I should take out some chili flakes. I want some chili flakes. Here we go. Of course, they're in the last one. Chili flakes. Okay, now I have all that stuff chopped up, ready to go. The last thing I'm going to prep are my eggs. And I actually start with cooking the eggs. For this amount of fried rice, I'm going to put in 2 eggs. Egg, just scramble it up. And once this gets going, it's pretty quick. It comes together pretty quickly. So I'm going to put some oil from my soap container into my pan and turn up the heat to get it nice and hot. And then I'm also going to get out some... So I just put some vegetable oil in here for the frying of the egg, but I'm also going to have some Japanese sesame oil handy. You don't have to put sesame oil in the fried rice, but using this adds a very authentic flavor to fried rice. Like it makes a difference. All of this stuff is, as I said before, very forgiving. So if you don't have one of these things, that's fine. So my oil's nice and hot. I'm going to first lightly scramble my egg. And tool. Oh, it's right here. I don't want this fully cooked or like overcooked. So what I do is I just sort of cook it to that level, and then I just put it directly back into the bowl that I scrambled the egg in, because it's going to finish cooking when the rice goes in. And that creates like egg that's still nice and fluffy rather than hard. Okay, now we're gonna crank up that heat and get the oil smoking. We want it smoking. My sesame oil goes in. It smells nice too, the sesame oil. So move some things around. There. See the smoke? I'm going to start with my spicy salami. And here's a tip that I learned from my Chinese friend. Use 2 implements. Like I used to do this, and she's like, go get another one because you do this. And this was a game changer. Why didn't I even realize that on my own? Okay, that's going nicely. As that's going, the onions, the ginger, and the garlic go in, and a little bit of chili flakes. Hao la, hao la, hao la. It really helps when you're making fried rice to speak Cantonese or Mandarin. And anything you know in Cantonese or Mandarin, just say it. Anything. It just it'll add flavor to the rice. So what I just said, hao la, hao la, hao la. Good, good, good. Like coming together, good. Hao la, hao la. And then there's something else that I know how to say, which I'll say later, because that's appropriate to a later part of the process. Okay, now, so cook for a little longer. Everything should be sizzling like this. The sizzle is essential because it's going to render out the fat from the salami. Okay, now I'm ready for my rice. I'm going to add my rice that has been crumbled. And here's where the 2 implements really come in handy, because you want to be able to coat every grain of rice with some of the fat that's in the pan. You can probably see the color changing because all the rice is getting coated with the oil. And what I do at this point is I just, once the rice looks like it's been evenly coated with the fat from the pan, I just leave it there while I do my couple of other steps. The thing I want to do now is chop up my green onions, the green part of my green onions. So I'm going to cut these up very finely because these will go on top of the rice at the end. Come back here, give it a stir, and add some salt at this point. Salt. Nice kosher salt. There is salt in the salami, so remember that and don't oversalt. Now, I'm also going to add at this point green peas, frozen green peas. It's kind of essential. These are easy because you could just keep them in the freezer, green peas. But you could also add like chopped carrots, chopped green beans, chopped snow peas. How nice that looks. And it looks like the real thing. Okay, this is looking great. The rice is starting to kind of fluff up. You don't want to add liquid to this because the liquid will make the rice soggy. So I don't put soy sauce in here. I don't add any kind of water or stock or anything. It's just the residual moisture from the onions, garlic, ginger, pork, and peas that help to fluff up the rice, which is what you want. And at this point, I'm going to put the eggs back in because now the rice is very hot. So the eggs are going to continue cooking. And that's why I was fine to just put them back into this bowl that I had scrambled the eggs in, because they're kind of half cooked anyways. So what I do is I just break up the eggs with my utensils and distribute them. And now I'm going to turn off the heat because I don't want these eggs to be burnt or hard. And they will really just continue cooking in the residual heat of the rice. Now, the last secret ingredient, this was also revealed to me by someone who's Chinese. A little bit of sugar, a little bit of white sugar. And it's crazy how that completely transforms this whole dish. So, not a lot, like just a half teaspoon of sugar, like that much. Sprinkle it over the top and mix it in really well. There. There. Looks so nice. Like real Chinese fried rice from the restaurant. You can invite your friends over. They'll be so impressed if they saw this on the stove. You made that? There. Beautiful. Now, I'm just going to take my green onions, sprinkle them on the top. Finishing touch. Just toss them a little bit in there. You will see with things like peas and green onions, anything that's green, when heat touches them, the green color changes. They turn brighter. And it's a beautiful scientific fact that peak chlorophyll release is also associated with when the vegetable is the best to be consumed by us. So when you cook with your eyes, and you use your eyes and you see like, oh, it's bright green, stop the cooking. Because that is actually when the vegetable is the healthiest to be consumed. And this is for anything from green onions to spinach or collard greens or kale. They're raw, they're green, and then as they start to cook, they turn like a bright color, like an unbelievably bright green. And then if you continue cooking them, they start to dull and they'll turn like mushy pea green, which is not the peak time to be eating them. So that when I learned that was fascinating, and I've tried to adapt that into every time I'm cooking with something green. That's why I put the green onions in like just at the green part in just at the end, because the rice was really warm, it was hot, and that heat of the rice without the stove being on, like look at the green onions now. They're a beautiful bright green color, and that's all they need to be cooked to the point where they're best for in terms of health and digestion. There. Now, in order for this to be enjoyed thoroughly, you need the right kind of bowl. I'm just going to do a little bit of cleanup. I think that whenever possible, you enjoy your food so much more if there's an accompanying dish or utensil that is associated with the culture of that food. Like when I cook my Tamil food, I make it in the Sri Lankan clay pots, and if I could, I would be eating it off of banana leaves because that's the tradition. But with fried rice, it's really nice to have a Chinese rice bowl, which I have. This is an antique one. I think they said that this was found in a shipwreck, like a pile of them, which is very common. It's a beautiful, just utilitarian, very quickly and simply made bowl, but it's so thin and I love it so much for fried rice. So what I do is I just put my rice in the bowl. And you can use chopsticks or a little spoon. Let's try it out. It's great. Fighty, fighty, han. That means hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Eat it quickly while it's hot. Fighty, fighty. Chinese fried rice made with leftover rice. A great way to economize and enjoy every last bit of your takeout. Try it yourself. Let me know what you think.